Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to pivot into a completely different yet equally dynamic topic, the intersection of science and entertainment. Stepping into the realm of digital innovation, our next fireside chat is on science of interactive entertainment, and in this chat we shall explore how technology is reshaping consumer engagement. Please join me in welcoming our speakers for the session. Sandeep Singhal, Senior Advisor at Avaana Capital. A round of applause, please, for Mr. Singhal. And Trivikraman Thampy, co-founder and co-CEO of Games 24/7. A huge round of applause, please, to welcome them to the stage, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear you make some noise. Gentlemen, the stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. Well, as the name of this session says, it's about science and interactive entertainment. And there is nobody better than Vikram to discuss this. Vikram is the co-founder of Games 24/7. They are the publishers of Rummy Circle and My 11 Circle. And we'll talk about what those games, what games play. Vikram is from IIT Bombay. And he says that he's a Bombay person through and through. And particularly North Bombay. So I think what we heard earlier in the day with Mohandas saying that we need to make Mumbai great again, I think Vikram's already done that with what he has done with Games 24/7. So I think without further ado, maybe we'll, Vikram, go into the topic. Is there anything else you want to add in terms of your journey before we start going into detailed questions?
No, not really. I think you captured it well. I'm a thorough Mumbai-bred person. Like, this is where I spent most of my constructive years. And, really happy to be part of the startup ecosystem here and contributing.
So, guys, the amazing thing is Vikram actually has a PhD in economics. So here you have a person who's got a PhD, and he's chosen to actually build games. So I think that sort of aligns very well with his philosophy, which is basically, I think, science of gaming, focusing on user behavior and leveraging technology to enhance gaming experiences. That's the basis on which he has built Games 24/7 into a unicorn, which in 2022 was valued at $2.5 billion. So, when he tells you what he's done, he's actually talking with a lot of experience. So maybe we'll start by the scale that you have achieved, right? I think science, people think about data science and so on, and they don't really apply it to the area that you're in. They think of it more as from a game science perspective, not necessarily delivering the game. And I think when we were discussing this, we were talking about scale being a big issue. So maybe talk about how science and data science and AI and all come into the game delivery context.
Yeah. I mean, it turns out when we started our business, it's always been an important question, but especially when we moved over and started doing fantasy sports, and it's predominantly fantasy cricket. Cricket being the religion it's in India, the kind of traction we see on our fantasy platform, particularly around match start time, it's just mind-boggling. So the way fantasy works is that a lot of people will set up their team before toss, but then it's only after toss that you actually know the playing 11. And so most of them, people will come back and adjust their teams, but then at least half of the people will come between toss and match time, which is 30 minutes, to set up their teams and join contests. Now, this creates extraordinary pressure on the technology systems. I mean, we see more than 300,000 requests a second, like almost 20,000 people every second trying to join, and you have like 50 to 100 microservices that need to respond to those. So it's a hard problem technically, but there's also a cost problem here. The cost problem is that you need a massive amount of infrastructure for that kind of traffic, but for a very short period of time. And the rest of the day, you don't really need that much. And so if you just provision for that much infrastructure all through the day, you're wasting a lot of money. So what we did is we built machine learning models which are basically looking at data from the day before, literally going up to like a few minutes before the toss. And then in real time, based on what the machine learning model is telling us, and this is all happens in an automated sense, the infrastructure is provisioned. So the machine learning model obviously sits on the AWS infrastructure, computes this in real time. Like, what do we expect to be the traffic in the next 30 minutes? Accordingly provisions infrastructure for that time, which is obviously scaled up. And then as that period ends, it's scaled back down. So it's, I'm very proud of the work our technology and data science team together has done in terms of, not just being able to handle that kind of traffic in that 30-minute period, but also being able to do it very, very cost effectively.
And just to give a sense of, you mentioned 300,000 requests per second, 20,000 people that are making these requests. Just give a sense of, like, you mentioned the Champions Cup that just happened. How many people actually came on to play, and how does it happen in IPL and so on?
Yeah, I mean, in a span of like a few minutes, you have millions of players who are joining contests. Like that's in Champions Trophy. You come to IPL, and that number will increase 4-5 fold. So crores, literally, of players in a matter of 30 minutes that will come and join contests. So it's obviously wonderful to see that kind of traffic. And to see that kind of interest in the product. But I guess most people don't realize what goes on at the back end to actually make that work really effectively.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned the cost element, but the consumer experience, I think, is very important, right? You talk about the fact that, the consumer is expecting a certain response time and so on. And I think that's also quite important, right?
I mean, that is the heart of everything. I mean, if we under-provisioned our infrastructure at that time, like that's just horrible customer experience. What's going to happen is I'm trying to join a contest, and the system's taking 5-10 seconds to respond. In today's world, nobody has 5-10 seconds. They want the systems. I press the join button, I want it to respond now, not 5 seconds later. Those days are gone. I mean, by the way, I've seen those days too. When back in 2006, 2009, when we launched our platform, one of the things that used to go around is that Indians are okay with slow service. It's all right. And honestly, our systems didn't work that well either. Like, so if a player has to wait 3, 4, 5 seconds, it's okay. But in last 10 years, we've gotten exposed to super high quality products, both domestically and globally. So I think Indians also just expect a very, very high level of service from their products, and which requires you to bring technology and data science together very effectively.
You talked about fantasy games in the particular context, but you also mentioned that you have this other category of games, which are these evergreen games like the Rummy Circle and so on. How does data science play a role in that genre of games?
So, one of the things about evergreen games, and I would call fantasy also kind of an evergreen game, is that people don't want their core gaming content to change that much. This is how I play fantasy, this is how I want to continue playing. This is how I like to play Rummy, this is how I want to continue playing. So a lot of innovation that we do is on what we call meta games that are, kind of games, I would say, interesting things we do on top of the game. So for instance, on the Rummy side, we'll do leaderboards or challenges. Challenges as in, if you can win 3 games in a row, you'll get XYZ, right? Or we'll do tournaments. Now, as it turns out, the user base for all products, not just ours, is very diverse. And not everybody wants tournaments. Some people prefer tournaments, some people prefer challenges, some people would want to do leaderboards or something else. We have a whole bunch of meta games around the game. And so one of the challenges is figuring out what users want. Again, this goes back to providing them a seamless experience. I don't want to throw in front of them, here are 6 choices, pick what you want. What the user wants is you personalize these choices for me. And you're seeing that obviously in e-commerce. You see how your shopping experience is personalized. You'll see that in streaming entertainment. Netflix has been king at personalizing your entertainment for you so that, if you have to actually browse through all the content on any streaming platform, it's going to take you a long time. And it's the same thing in gaming. So it has to be personalized. And that's where, again, using all the data that we are getting from our past users, when a new user comes on the platform saying, hey, this user probably belongs with a high likelihood in this cohort, and these are the kind of things that are likely to appeal to him. So let me not make him waste time trying to figure out what he wants, but let me present him with the choices that he would prefer, and then also keep learning with them. It's not like I offered you X, you don't prefer X, but then my system learns and figures out he's probably going to figure Y and not X, So I think use of data science, use of AI to provide that kind of personalized entertainment. Like if you're not doing that today, and I think this is not true just for entertainment, this is true for anything you're doing in the B2C space today, you're going to be a dinosaur very soon.
That's interesting. You also mentioned that there is some aspect of training and skill that is needed in this. And again, data science plays a role over there, right? Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, our games are games of skill. And so, one of the things that we have seen is that when people come into the system, they will make some elementary mistakes that a rummy player shouldn't make. But now different players will make different types of mistakes at different points in time. Gone are the days when a player comes on the platform and you just tell them, here's a tutorial, you watch the tutorial and now you're ready to play. First of all, people don't want to spend time watching tutorials and all of that, They want to get in the game. So our challenge was, how do we figure out, in real time, what kind of challenges this person is facing? So first of all, you need to build models that can understand what the right move at a particular time in a game would be, map that to what this player is actually doing, and then accordingly provide them advice on what they could do better in the game. So it's like AI and data science literally touches, whether you talk of providing learning experience within the game, whether you talk of meta games, we talked about scaling, it literally touches every aspect of our business.
Yeah, and you don't think about it, right? When we are actually talking about AI, machine learning, and so on, gaming doesn't come to the fore, right? It's interesting how much work goes in the background. You've been one of the few companies that have actually managed to crack both the fantasy and the sort of evergreen game segments. What has allowed you to do that? How have you able to sort of use your user base effectively to grow one and the other segments?
Yeah, again, the basic idea was a very simple business idea that, if we can effectively cross-promote, cross-monetize our users from fantasy to rummy and vice versa, that would bring significant additional revenue and, help us to scale both of our games. Now, that idea, while simple in principle, was very complex from a technical point of view, because if you're playing fantasy and I tell you play rummy, but then I ask you to go and install another app, that's a bad experience. So we wanted our fantasy player to be able to play rummy. Now we have other games on our platform like Ludo and poker as well, to be able to play on the same app. But that means loading up your app quite heavily. If I just put all the games in the same app, my app is now a 150 MB app and nobody wants to download it, or most people will stop their download about halfway through. So we had to, again, go to technology and figure out how can we package this game in a way that the app size doesn't really explode. So a lot of it was, optimizing on asset side, but a big part of it was I'm only going to download assets as and when needed, you know, like when not downloading all assets at the beginning, but kind of downloading them or provisioning them when it becomes necessary, so that the player at the beginning, in fact, believe it or not, while we have a fully integrated app with multiple products inside it, like if you compare our app to some of our competitor apps, our apps is probably one of the lightest ones, because we're able to provide more entertainment inside the same app with lesser download size.
No, that's amazing, because I've seen, particularly when we invested in mobile companies, the app size, as you pointed out,
Makes a
particularly in
huge
India, is a huge difference.
Huge
Because
difference.
people uninstall so quickly in India.
That's right.
Yeah. So, no, that's great. So, lots of learning, lots of experience. I believe you have translated that into setting up an accelerator to help the next generation of entrepreneurs to take that experience and help build businesses. Talk a little bit about this. I think it's called Texpedite.
Yeah, our accelerator program is called Texpedite. We launched it 2 years ago. We started it as a kind of a gaming accelerator, and then we realized this is somewhat limiting. A lot of the work that we do, you know, everything that we've talked about is gaming related, but a lot of the work that we do to support our gaming infrastructure is actually not gaming related, you know, and has broad implications, whether it be our current work on building an AI agent for chat, whether it be our current work on the AI side for building a conversational analytics tool, whether it be our current work on building AI for doing kind of creative manipulation. When I say creative manipulation, I mean manipulation of creatives, like advertisements, you know. Like all of that work is fairly generic, and we have a lot of knowledge in that space. Obviously, we've been in business for now almost 20 years. And the thinking was, why stick to gaming if you're going to run an accelerator program? The goal obviously being wanting to give back to the ecosystem that we have gained so much from. Why not broaden the horizon? So this year, our Texpedite program focused on AI, assistive technology, and game tech, and not surprisingly, of the roughly 350 applications we received, and now we are down to about 17, 12 are AI companies. You know, not a surprise.
Yeah.
Gaming is like 2 companies, and then we have a few in assistive tech. And obviously through this process, we are learning a lot, but then hopefully we are able to kind of, you know, talk to these guys about what they could do better when it comes to tech, AI, and generally about marketing, scaling, building a business plan. So it's been, you know, it's been a tremendous experience. I've personally spent hours and hours with founders, learned a lot myself, and hopefully contributed in some small way, you know, to their business.
And the AI companies that you're seeing, are they similar to the kind of AI that you've been using? Is there a different model?
There's a lot of I think there are a lot of similarities in challenges, you know. So for instance, the conversational analytics tool that we are building, the basic idea, so we're a very scientific business. Everybody in our company is pulling out data, doing analysis. And so we said, and in that process, actually, the challenge is that either you need to know SQL to pull out data, or you need to walk over to a BI engineer and say, I need this data. And we were like, now with Gen AI, why do we need all this? Why can't I just say in English, hey, can you tell me what the engagement for this particular cohort that was acquired in the second week of February is in this week? Why can't I just say it in English and get the data? So we said, you know, we spoke to our engineering and data science team, and they said, yeah, that can be done today. So let's build that system. Now, the challenge with that kind of a system is that how do you figure out the quality? You know, you want very high quality in responses. If my engagement rate right now is X, and the system says it's 0.2X, that's going to trigger a whole bunch of responses within the team on the marketing side and the product side to try and address that problem. So if the system gives me a wrong answer, the costs are phenomenal, right? And so the big challenge that comes over there is, how do I get quality right? And I can't get quality right 999 out of 1,000 times. It's a problem if 1 out of 1,000 times the quality is bad. So the work that we had to do was you take the Gen AI systems, and they're very good at, these Gen AI systems have already learned on millions, if not billions of SQL queries out there. They can generate responses when they've been given some background and context about how our systems work. The work that we had to do the most on was putting a quality score on that. So the work we did internally is like when the system is spitting out an answer to an English language query asking something about the data, is how much can you trust this response? Can you trust it at 98% level, 99% level, 100% level? Or is it only a 5% trustworthy response, you know? Now, that's where most of the challenges lie, even with the AI companies that we are seeing, some very, very interesting companies. Some companies are using gaming technology to solve problems like diabetes, depression, obesity. Very, very interesting stuff. Some companies, and I think the founders are maybe here or I just met them, they're doing stuff that doesn't sound that sexy, but it's super exciting in my view, which is helping medical reps and bank reps to be able to communicate better with their customers, you know, AI tech to teach them how to communicate better in specific contexts. In all of these cases, you know, depending on the kind of business you are in, that quality control, that last mile becomes really important. Going from 70% quality to 90, 95% is not that hard. That last mile is super hard. A lot of people are not even getting to 90, 95, but that's where the real challenges are.
No, I think this is great. We have a thing saying time's up, so we'll wrap this up. But I think hopefully, you know, the audience here got a sense on what goes behind the games that you play that you just assume are there and you can just literally bring it up on your phone and play it. The amount of effort that goes in terms of, you know, delivering it to you, making sure that you have a great experience and are accurate. I think the other point which I want to leave with you is here's a founder who is giving back and is giving back broadly, right? So both in terms of his time and his resources. So if there are any founders here that are aligned with what they're looking for, AI, assistive technology, and gaming technology, please reach out to them. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause, please. Gentlemen, I request you to please stay on stage a moment longer. Sir, I request you to please do the honors presenting Mr. Thampy with a token of appreciation on behalf of TiEcon. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a huge round of applause, please. Thank you, Mr. Thampy, and of course, thank you, Mr. Singhal, for that extremely interesting discussion and your keen insights.